Welcome to today's tutorials. Today's video is all about type child index pseudo-classes. So don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. First, our HTML template has an h1 for welcome right here, an h2 element for all the paragraph titles, and here we have 7 random paragraphs. Now let's move on to VS Code. And we're going to start by pointing out the subtle difference between child index pseudo-classes and type child index pseudo-classes. Let's start with h2. First child. Let's say color blue. Now let's check the browser. And here, the h2 right here is not styled. Now let's go back and try h2. First of type. First type. Now let's make color red. Let's go back to the browser, and here the first h2 is styled, and that's the subtle difference between the type child index pseudo-classes and the child index pseudo-classes. That the former, when it comes to the index, it only considers the specific element, not like the child index pseudo-classes, which considers all element. Now let's go back to the VS Code, and here we're going to see the difference between last child and last of type. So h2, last child. Here let's say color green. Now let's check the browser. Here last h2 here is not colored, and simply because there is a paragraph right here. But if we do h2 last of type, it's only going to consider the h2, so color, let's say yellow. Now let's check the browser, and here the last h2 right here is styled in yellow. Now let's move on to the difference between only of type and only child. So let's start with only child. Let's start with h1, which we only have one in our template. So h1 only child. Let's say background color blue. Now let's check the browser, and here the h1 is not styled because it has many siblings. Now let's try only of type. h1 only of type. Let's say background color, let's say yellow. Now let's check the browser, and here the h1 is styled because only of type considers the h1s. Now let's go back to the HTML template and try to add another h1. Here we can add date 11/2021. Now let's go back to the browser, and here it's not styled anymore. Now let's move on to nth-of-type. And nth-of-type actually works the same way an nth child, and the only difference that nth-of-type just considers the specific element. Here we can try it with the paragraphs. So p nth-of-type. Here we can add the same arguments that we've added to the nth child. So we can add even, or we can add odd, or we can add a function, or we can add specific number. So let's start with even. Let's say background color, say red. Now let's move back to VS Code. Here each paragraph with an even number is going to have a red background. Also we can target a specific one, so we can target the third paragraph, for example. Just can add 3. Here the third paragraph has a red background. You can also add a function. So here you can add 3n plus 1. And here it starts with the first paragraph, then the fourth, then the seventh. And also we have nth-last-of-type, so p nth-last-of-type, and it takes the same arguments that the nth-of-type takes, and the only difference that it starts counting from the bottom. I think you get the gist of it. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time.